Bitcoin is falling out of favor on the dark web. Bitcoin has many uses, among them currencies, payment systems, investments, commodities, technologies, remittance networks, and market hedges, but perhaps its most notorious is as a facilitator of online drug sales. Before we start, if you're new to this channel, welcome to Facts Insight. For more videos such as this one, please visit this channel for insights based solely on facts. Make sure to subscribe and give a like. Cryptocurrencies have long allowed anonymous buyers and sellers to pay each other anonymously, avoiding the formal financial system and avoiding government intervention. In 2011, the journalist Adrian Chen wrote an expose for Gawker about the now defunct Silk Road, saying now you can buy and sell drugs online, just like books and light bulbs. Small talk with your pot dealer stinks, described at the time as the most complete implementation of Bitcoin's anarcho-libertarian anonymity. Chen dubbed it the most complete implementation of Bitcoin vision. Despite this, 7 years later, Bitcoin users have piled up problems using it on the dark web, a kind of mirror internet that uses encryption to ensure its participants' privacy and contains websites that cannot be accessed with standard browsers. The purchase and vendor community is canceling orders, losing money, and relocating to other forms of cryptocurrency. Despite its widespread use for drugs and illegal goods, Bitcoin's shadowy markets are turning against it. In the first place, Bitcoin's price is extremely volatile. Bitcoin's price has soared and collapsed like a penny stock since its very early days. The past year has, however, been exceptionally volatile, with dramatic swings and plunges from day to day and even minute to minute. These fluctuations have been driven by investors who are putting Bitcoin on their credit cards or taking out equity loans on their houses. Aside from the currency's short-term volatility, there has been some long-term volatility as well. It surged 1,300% last year and has fallen by nearly half recently. For Wall Street-style investors looking to buy and hold Bitcoin or risk-happy prospectors looking to make a quick buck, such price swings are generally not a problem. Moreover, they are not problematic for many Silicon Valley entrepreneurs who are interested in the blockchain-based currency. However, this type of volatility causes problems for Bitcoin marketplaces. Since the federal authorities seized Silk Road in 2013, darknet markets have continued to develop and collapse. In those markets, drug prices are fundamentally pegged to dollars and euros, not bitcoins. In other words, buyers think in terms of traditional currencies, not bitcoins. An eighth of an ounce of marijuana is worth $25. In the same vein, vendors often pay wholesale prices in dollars or other government currencies, or sell their goods in person, so it doesn't matter how much Bitcoin is worth. Nicholas Christian told me, "What matters is that it is stable. To understand why, you have to know how drugs are bought on the dark web. Buyers buy Bitcoin, renew vendors' offers on a marketplace, and then pay. Their payment generally goes into escrow before it's released. Transaction delays and choke points occur when the purchaser procures Bitcoin and makes a purchase, when the vendor receives the order and receives payment from escrow, and when the vendor cashes out. Price drops during escrow might wipe out all profits from a sale for vendors." On Reddit, for example, there are countless complaints at these kinds of scenarios. A user recently posted concerned about fewer vendors selling due to market dynamics. That seems to me that vendors are sitting on the sidelines. If payment is in Bitcoin and then the price falls, all their work is for naught. Another complained, "Seriously? I bought Bitcoins this morning at $675 and they dropped to $625 in 1.5 hours. In illicit markets, Bitcoin is vulnerable to swings in price too. But those markets have found ways to avoid them thanks to their deep pockets and ties to formal financial systems. Merchants that want to avoid volatility will still accept Bitcoin or cryptocurrency and can use a service provider that converts it automatically." Jerry Brito, the executive director of Coin Center, an advocacy and research center for cryptocurrencies, told me, This service provider accepts Bitcoin for the merchant, converts it, and deposits the dollars into their account. Therefore, they are never exposed to volatility. Marketplaces, vendors, and buyers have a few options to hedge, as such businesses don't want to deal with illegal markets. In addition, some marketplaces have built in their own mechanisms to help manage volatility, such as Silk Road, which encouraged its customers to finalize early. According to Christian, Ross Albright was smart but got into a line of work he shouldn't have been involved with. Albright was arrested in 2013 and is currently serving a life sentence. Other markets lack the technological capability to do this, or the willingness to absorb any volatility risk from their vendors and customers. He had very clever ideas, like this hedging system that exists in banks. As a result, many vendors canceled orders, or requested their buyers cancel orders to manage the swings. As the price of Bitcoin shot up, volatility has diminished as buyers and vendors found their currency more valuable. A crash in Bitcoin's price reduces vendors' motivation to do business on the darknet markets. In fact, some vendors claim to have made more money holding Bitcoin than selling drugs. According to Goran Browen, a cryptocurrency researcher who goes by a pseudonym, volatility upwards is largely a good thing for the darknet markets as it creates wealth efficient. The worst thing is a crash. Sellers face an ugly dynamic. They must still pay their expenses and suppliers in fiat. So, should they continue shipping Bitcoins that are now worth less and may well result in a loss? A second reason Bitcoin is losing popularity on the dark web is the sudden rise in the cost of transacting Bitcoin. To understand Bitcoin, you must go into technical details. All Bitcoin transactions are kept in a public and decentralized ledger. In order to verify and log a Bitcoin transaction, miners solve cryptographic puzzles and receive a small fee in Bitcoin in return. Cryptocurrencies have a scaling problem. As demand for transactions has grown, the price to transact has risen. In fact, Bitcoin transactions recently spiked to $55. A lot of people don't mind that, but for someone looking for marijuana, that might not be a problem. When you look at the average transaction on crypto markets, half are $30 or $50, said David Decarietu, a criminology professor at the Université de Montréal. It doesn't make sense to pay $35 for $50 of drugs. Such transaction fees become especially problematic for anyone trying to make many smaller Bitcoin transactions to avoid the authorities. In addition to Bitcoin's fees and transaction delays, darknet market participants have also shifted away from the cryptocurrency. Which markets should I use now that Bitcoin is literally unusable in small amounts? Asked one Reddit forum poster. The fees got enormous. The sites I used to buy Bitcoin set their minimum amount to 500 euros. Another commenter advised the user recommending a rival cryptocurrency. Monero appears to be the way forward, at least for now. Bitcoin cannot be used for smaller transactions at the moment. Third, there's the issue of anonymity, or rather a lack of it, as law enforcement and regulatory agencies are increasingly interested and sophisticated in monitoring cryptocurrencies. Although Bitcoin initially promised complete anonymity, its public nature has always meant that observers could gather a lot of information about Bitcoin users, identifying popular darknet markets and making money laundering more difficult. Bitcoin is not anonymous and it is traceable, said Sarah Mickeljan, a cryptography expert at the University College London. If you are buying drugs, Bitcoin is not the best option. Moreover, Bitcoin-denominated markets provide many advantages over illicit markets. The dollar and euro are stable, with prices fluctuating only a few percent each year. Online payment systems are inexpensive and reliable, with credit cards charging just a few percent. Contemporary financial markets are rich marvels, offering hedges, insurance, security guarantees, and a seemingly infinite variety of other products to make buying goods and doing business easy. These illicit transactions and attacks causing Bitcoin a huge crash. Moreover, Bitcoin didn't meet its original promise. It was more efficient, easy to use, low cost, immediate, and anonymous. It can still be used for drugs, but not as easily. If you like the video, do share us in the comment section below. We would love your responses, and make sure to like and subscribe to Facts Insight. Don't forget to press the bell icon.